Hello there. Welcome into the newest episode of the Missing Piece podcast. Thank you guys so much for listening in, and we got a very special episode for you guys today. We're going to start off with some Fever basketball. It's coming down to the wire. They're making a postseason push, and they've gotten 2 quality wins on their resume, and they still got 5 games left. One of them today. That's really important. And hopefully they make a push for the playoffs. And hopefully Caitlin Clark is back too. I know she's practicing, but we'll get into that when we talk about the Fever. We'll talk about college football scores yesterday. And we're going to get into a new series that I'm going to get into later. It's a new, very special series. So I'm going to tease it so you guys have to stick around to the end of the episode to hear it. And we'll talk about some Colts football, the final roster, a look ahead to the season. And I think we'll wrap it up after that. So, without further ado, I think we're going to go ahead and get started. So, we'll start off with the Fever basketball. So, since I last talked to you guys, the Fever have played 2 games. They played the Seattle Storm at home in Indianapolis. They won that game. I was there at the game. It was pretty fun to watch, with no Caitlin Clark, no Sophie Cunningham. This team is just injury ridden, and they're just fighting to make it. And, last week they also defeated the Sparks by 1 point in a game that they absolutely needed to have, because the Sparks are the one team that's on the outside looking in right now. So, that was a game they really needed to have, and they got it. They have a big game in Phoenix today. Actually, I think it's Golden State, actually, now that I'm thinking about it. It's either Phoenix or Golden State. I know they're out west right now. So, yeah, they're in Golden State tonight, which is another big one, because the Fever are currently at the 6th seed right now. Golden State's at 7, right behind us. So if the Fever can win tonight and beat Golden State, I think the Fever are looking pretty good with 4 games remaining on their schedule, and 2 of them are against a team. Hold on, let me look at the schedule here. After they play the Valkyries today, they play the Mercury in Phoenix, and I believe Phoenix is they're in the discussion in the playoffs. They play the Sky at home. That should be a win. They're playing a Washington Mystics team that's already out, and they're playing a Lynx team that's already locked up the number 1 seed. So, if they can pull off a win tonight, I think they have a good chance of pushing into the playoffs. But they gotta pull it off tonight. So, that's the remaining schedule. 5 games left. They're 6th seed. We'll see how the Fever do. I believe the last I heard, Caitlin Clark was practicing. So, I believe Stephanie White wanted Caitlin to get some more practices under her belt. Maybe Caitlin will come back for this late postseason push. Maybe if they get into the playoffs, Caitlin will come back. We'll see. But hopefully Caitlin will be coming back soon, because they really need her right now, because this team is really beat up with injuries right now. And so, good luck, Fever, with these final 5 games. Hopefully they win them. I think we'll get into some Colts stuff. So, the final 53-man roster came out this week, and there were some shockers on it. Juju Brents, the kid from Indianapolis, got cut, which makes sense, because he kept getting injury prone. He was injury prone. He was good when he played. The problem is he never played. He was constantly hurt. And it just made sense after they traded for Mekhi Blackman from the Vikings that he was going to replace Juju Brents on the roster. So the final 53-man roster is Cam Bynum, Josh Downs, Spencer Schrader is your winner of the kicking competition. So Spencer Schrader will be our kicker this year. Xavier Howard, who they signed as a free agent because this corner room was just so beat up with Justin Wally being out for the year now. They should be getting Jalen Jones back. Same thing with Kenny Moore. So they're getting healthy, but still no Justin Wally. Anthony Richardson Obviously, he'll be QB2 this year behind Daniel Jones. Anthony Gould made the team. Anthony Gould you're going to be your backup slot receiver and mostly special teams, so he's going to be your punt returner and kickoff returner. Charvarius Ward, the big name corner free agent that they signed, obviously he's going to make the team. Rigoberto Sanchez, your punter. You want to keep your special teams core together. A.D. Mitchell made the team. Young wide receiver. Had some flashes last year, but I want to see more out of him this year. Obviously, Pittman made the team. Pierce made the team. Riley Leonard made it. So Riley Leonard's basically going to be the Sam Ehlinger replacement. Ashton Dulin made the team. Going to primarily play special teams at wide receiver. Maybe sprinkle him in at wide receiver a little bit. Daniel Jones is going to be your starting quarterback this year. More on that when we get through these 53-man roster and season outlook. Nick Cross is going to be your safety. Obviously, he's going to be your starter with Cam Bynum. DJ Giddens, the rookie out of Kansas State, made it. Kenny Moore, obviously. Let's see here. Khalil Herbert made the practice squad. Let's see here. Oh, missed it, my bad. Rodney Thomas made it. He's your backup safety. Wally's on IR. He's out for the year. Jonathan Taylor. Mekhi Blackman, I mentioned earlier, the Colts traded for him from the Vikings for a 6th-round pick. Hunter Wohler, I believe, is out for the year, unfortunately. He was having a really good camp. Goodson made the team at running back. Goodson, I think, really established himself over Khalil Herbert this summer. He was really good running the ball and playing special teams. He's your backup kickoff returner, too, so I think keeping Goodson around is a good thing. Daniel Scott made the team. He's the one that had the pick 6 in the final preseason game against the Bengals. He made the team because Hunter Wohler is hurt. Jalen Jones. Zaire Franklin made the team. He's one of your captains. Luke Rhodes, your long snapper. Joe Bacci, who's the linebacker who came over with Lou Anarumo for this new defense. Shagun Alubi. Kwity Paye made the team. Ebukam. Chad Muma, who they signed as a waiver claim. He's coming in at linebacker. Quentin Nelson. Carlisle's, who I believe is a little hurt right now. Cam McGrone. Bortolini. Dalton Tucker. Gonsalves. Braden Smith. Blake Freeland. Jalen Travis. Bernhard Raimann. Rounding out the offensive linemen. Mo Alley Cox made the team with Tyler Warren, obviously, Drew Ogletree, Will Mallory. So the other surprising cut with Juju Brents was Jelani Woods. So Jelani Woods is no longer with the team. Juju Brents is with the Dolphins now. I don't know where Jelani Woods went to. He went to the Jets. He's a New York Jet now. So Jelani Woods is with the Jets now. Grover Stewart, GT Tuimoloau, Neville Gallimore, Tim Smith. I think Tim Smith is on the practice squad. Taekwon Lewis, Adetomiwa Adebawore, Latu, Eric Johnson, and Buckner. On the practice squad, they brought back Coleman Owen, which I thought was a really good get to bring him back. He was fantastic in the preseason, especially against Cincinnati, that last one. He was excellent. I'm glad they brought him back. He's the leader in Ohio for catches. So, Laquan Treadwell they brought back and other stuff. So, for this Colts season, especially with Daniel Jones as your starting quarterback, I don't know how good this team is going to be this year, especially... We'll see how Daniel Jones does. He had a really good year in 2022, but if you're going to try and replicate that offense, it's basically going to be very similar to what they had with Gardner Minshew in 2023. And that's, you keep it very simple for him. You have him take 3 steps, get the ball out quickly. You don't have him think too much, because when he thinks too much, that's when problems typically occur. In training camp, when he was hanging on to the ball, he would throw the ball late, and one of them ended up with a Kenny Moore interception, but a lot of them ended up with pass breakups. So, if you want to have this offense be successful with Daniel Jones, you're going to have to keep it pretty simple. You're going to have to try and run the ball first and try and beat people running the ball. Another thing is you cannot get into 3rd and long with Daniel Jones. I do not trust Daniel Jones on 3rd and 10 to complete a pass to make a first down. I don't really trust it. You want to stay ahead of the chains. If you're going to get to 3rd down, you want it to be 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2, 3rd and 3, 3rd and 4 even. So you still have the option of running the ball. So you just gotta stay ahead of the chains. I think that's the important thing, is staying ahead of the chains. Keep the offense simple for him. Don't have him think too much. Just have him be like a point guard distributor. Just have him throw the ball to the playmakers. And that's what Tyler Warren's really good at, is just getting yards after the catch. That's what he was known for at Penn State. But I don't know how successful that offense is going to be. Defensively, with Lou Anarumo, I think it's going to be different than what you've seen with I'm blanking on, with Gus Bradley. Sorry, I was blanking on the name for a minute. Gus Bradley, his defense was pretty simple. It was mostly 4-3 defense. This time with Lou Anarumo, it's going to be different. You're going to see different defenses depending on who their matchup is going to be. I like the defensive front with Latu and Ebukam and all them, and the corner room is much better. Same thing with the starting safeties. I like the starting safeties a lot. So hopefully the defense will be a lot better than what they were last year, but that's a very low bar because they were pretty bad last year. But we'll see. We'll see how the season goes. I'm not very optimistic with this team this year. I think realistically, probably around 6-11, 7-10. Just being realistic, and if you go with that record, that's probably gonna wind up being a top 10 pick. And that will ultimately hopefully result in Ballard and Steichen being relieved of their jobs, and we get new voices in here, and that will be, speaking of a top 10 pick, that transitions us to the series I'm going to be doing from the start of the college football season to the end. And once the end of the college football season happens, we're going to go through each of them. And I'm going to start doing the college football quarterback series. So, what we're going to do in this series is each week we're going to go through the stats that each first-round quarterback projected first-round quarterback in this upcoming draft. We'll go through the stats that they had, how they looked, and we'll go through. And towards when the season is over, we're going to go through each one of them. And then around the draft time, we're going to start ranking them, which ones I like, which ones I don't, from seeing them in the combine to the senior. Some of them will be in the Senior Bowl, pro days. In the season they had a combination of it, and ranking them, seeing which quarterback would best fit the Colts going forward. Because I'm pretty certain that we're going to be looking at a new quarterback. I don't have any hopes with Daniel Jones and Anthony Richardson. So let's go through each first round projected quarterback. We'll start with the rough one, and that's Arch Manning. So Arch Manning is the nephew of Peyton Manning, son of Cooper Manning. He did not look very good yesterday against Ohio State. Texas lost to Ohio State 14-7. Arch Manning was 17 out of 30 of passing, 170 yards, a touchdown, and an interception. Not very good stats for Arch Manning starting out in his very first game starting. He was 10 for 38 rushing, so he's more mobile than either of his uncles are, but still not a very good game passing for him. And that Ohio State defense is going to be a very similar defense to what he's going to see in the NFL, because that's one of the more talented teams he's going to face. So it stinks that he underperformed. Hopefully he'll have a bounce back week next week. I believe next week, who will Texas be playing next week? Hold on, give me a minute, guys. Sorry. They will be playing San Jose State next week, so Arch Manning should have a bounce back. And I think what his uncles will tell him is, yeah, you had a bad game last week. Just move forward, bounce back, and we'll be fine. His next game, that's going to be the tough one for him, will be when they travel to Florida. That will be when he's going to start seeing who Arch Manning really is. Because in that stretch you have when he goes to Florida, and then the very next week is the Red River rivalry game when he plays Oklahoma. And then the next tough one for him will be Georgia at Georgia, and then Texas A&M. So, we'll see how Arch does. It's very beginning of the season. It was his very first start as a full-fledged starter. Didn't look too good. Hopefully he bounces back from it. He's got some games where he should be fine and get his rhythm back, and hopefully when he goes to Florida he'll be more confident in himself. And there is some talk that he may not come out at all. He may decide to go back for his senior year and come out in 2027. I'm only putting him in this group because it depends on how the rest of the season goes, but he may decide to come out. But I think it's very likely that he will probably go back to Texas for his senior year, and he'll be in the 2027 draft class. But we'll keep an eye on Arch just in case he does decide to come out. The other quarterbacks that we're going to look at we'll go to the LSU Clemson game. So you have two of them in Cade Klubnik and Garrett Nussmeier. So let's start with Garrett Nussmeier. So Garrett Nussmeier was 28 out of 38 for 230 yards and a touchdown. So good stats for Garrett Nussmeier. I thought Garrett Nussmeier, just from watching him, there were some bad ones. He had some bad throws, but he also had some really good ones. And I could just tell when he was in rhythm, especially on that drive where they went up 17-10, he looked really good when he was in rhythm. And he was just on fire, and it looked hard for Clemson to stop him. And that Clemson defense is pretty good, so I thought he did pretty well. He also had 4 carries for 2 yards, so not much carrying the ball. And that's not his Garrett Nussmeier's MO. He's more likely to stand back there and move around and make plays happen. He's much like a Baker Mayfield is who he reminds me of. Just from watching him and the confidence that he has and some of those questionable throws, screams Baker Mayfield to me. But we'll get into that more when we get into talking about each one of them. So a good showing from Garrett Nussmeier, not a great one, but it was good. I think Nussmeier had a good showing. And then Klubnik had a bad showing. 19 out of 38 for 230 yards and an interception. So, not a very good game for Cade Klubnik. I had high hopes for him coming into this year. He ended last year really well, and I thought this year was going to be Cade Klubnik's year. I thought he was going to take a step forward and really separate himself from the pack. He did not do that last night. He was pretty bad. So I don't know. We'll see how Cade Klubnik finishes the year. Like I said, it's a very young season. Yesterday was like the first games. So we could be talking about Cade Klubnik differently at the end of the year than what we would right now. So, and Clemson could very well go very deep into this college football playoffs. And we're really talking about Cade Klubnik as the best quarterback in this draft class. So, and I'm pretty certain both of them, both Klubnik and Nussmeier, are both going to come out because they're both seniors. So I would imagine both of those quarterbacks are both going to come out. And they're both going to be first-round picks. So watch out for those two. Keep an eye on LSU and Clemson. We'll see how each of them do. So next we will go to, let's go to Penn State, Nevada. And we'll look at Drew Aller, the quarterback for Penn State. So Drew Aller yesterday, he was 22 out of 26 for 217 yards and a touchdown. So basically, he took advantage of playing an inferior team in Nevada. So, Drew Aller should have put up numbers like that against a Nevada team that's not as good as Penn State is. And Penn State won 46-11. So, Drew Aller basically did what he should have done. So the big games for Drew Aller this year are going to be Ohio State at Ohio State and Oregon at home against Oregon. So those are going to be the biggest two. And then the Indiana game as well. But the Oregon-Ohio State games are where you're going to really see if Drew Aller has done better. I think he did better running the football yesterday, taking off and running. Yeah, he had 6 carries for 20 yards, so which is better than what he normally has. I saw him tuck it and run it a lot more than what I saw last year, and I want to see more of it this year because last year he was not very mobile. He looked a lot like Joe Flacco does. But I saw some mobility yesterday. We'll see how he does the rest of the season. He's still got 2 big games left that I mentioned. But that's about 4 of them. We'll talk about another one, which is, we'll go to IU, who won 27-14 yesterday. And we'll talk about Fernando Mendoza. So Fernando Mendoza yesterday, he was 18 for 31 for 193 yards. And he ran for a touchdown, and he had 6 attempts for 33 yards. So I think Fernando Mendoza yesterday, a lot of those incompletions, some of those were drops. I mean, there was one where he tried to hit Elijah Surratt down the field in what would have been a touchdown, and it hit his hands, and Elijah Surratt just dropped it. And I was like, man, that was a beautiful pass. It was right in his hands, and Surratt just dropped the football. I thought Mendoza played really well. There were some things he needs to clean up, but I think overall, I thought he did a good job, especially running the ball. Last year at Cal, he didn't really run the ball much, but that was because that Cal offensive line was so bad that he was just under pressure so much. I mean, he led FBS last year in being sacked. That's how bad that Cal offensive line was last year. This year, and he showed you it, he's got some legs. He can run. So, I think IU's going to use him more in the run game throughout this year. So keep an eye out for Fernando Mendoza. I think, when all said and done this year, I think Fernando Mendoza may be a first-round pick. So that's what? Manning, Nussmeier, Klubnik, Aller, Mendoza. And we'll talk about Lenore Sellers, who plays today. So that will be the South Carolina Virginia Tech game at 3 p.m. today on ESPN. Sellers is the South Carolina quarterback. If you watched him last year, he's very good at running it. He needs to work on his passing, but we'll see how he does this year. My bad. I was talking about Fernando Mendoza was on my mind. Lenore Sellers may also decide to stay at school, but depending on how well he does this year, this Virginia Tech game we'll see how he does today. Sellers is a really good runner, and hopefully he gets better passing it. So, those are the quarterback watch list I'm going to have for you guys this year, and I think the Colts are probably going to be taking one of them next year. So I'm going to be continuing doing this series throughout the year, and hopefully and then throughout the off season we'll talk about each one of them more in depth, and we'll rank them going into the draft, and see which one the Colts are going to take. But I think that's all I have for you guys today. Thank you guys so much for listening in, and I will see you guys next week.